Thank you. Who are you? What do you want? Do you have the capacity to do that? These are questions my mother was never asked. These are questions she could have asked herself. Who am I? What do I want? Do I have the capacity to do that? My mother died at the age of 36 from an HIV and AIDS related illness. She had 4 kids, I, her eldest and only daughter, 3 boys and a husband. Her husband, my stepfather, did not love her, could not love her, and would not love her. My mother endured years in a marriage where she had to negotiate for love and bargain for our safety. Prior to her untimely death, my mother spent most of her weekends chasing down women who were rumored to be her husband's mistresses. When she wasn't chasing these women, she was the one running from being physically assaulted by him. When the weight of the emotional, mental, physical abuse, as well as the infidelity, became too heavy to bear, she would reach out to both sides of the family for help. She was constantly told to persevere. They would remind her of her role as a mother and wife, which included doing everything she could, including sacrificing herself, her health, her well-being, her safety, her dreams, her self-worth, her life, in order to keep her family intact. They would also remind her of what we call women who return from marriage, in my language, isiXhosa, umabuya ekwendeni. This is a derogatory phrase that directly translates to the thing that has been returned from being married. This phrase highlights a woman's failure at something she was supposed to be excellent at, being married. Now, you're probably sitting there thinking, this is a little bit extreme and people-pleasing is not that self-destructive for you. But I want you to consider those times in your own life where you chose to do something for someone else over keeping a promise you had made to yourself. Or that time where you self-abandoned out of the fear of being rejected. I bet some of you didn't even want to be here today, but you said yes, and you came when you really wanted to say no. Who are you? My mother could never define herself outside the roles she played in other people's lives. All I remember her as is a mother, a wife, a daughter, a sister, an employee, a friend, a cousin. Outside these labels, I don't know who she was. I don't know what made her happy. I don't know what set her soul on fire. I don't know what she dreamed to be when she wasn't taking care of everyone else. And in all these roles, my mother gave something of herself, whether it was time she didn't have, money she didn't have, or emotional support she wasn't getting. My mother was truly everything to everyone, fiercely putting out flames she didn't light, fixing, overextending, and overcompromising. She gave and gave while everyone just took and took until she had nothing to give anymore. Who are you? What do you want? What a selfish question. I bet you that's what she would have thought. You see, my mother was raised in a society that glorifies martyrdom, and martyrs want nothing for themselves. She was bred in a culture and a society that made her believe that it was selfish to want anything for yourself. Selfish, a word used for those who dare prioritize themselves. Selfish, a mother, a wife cannot want, they would tell her. Wanting is a self-centered experience. When you are a mother and a wife, you lose the privilege to want anything for yourself. Your duty is to provide everyone else what they want. And this is part of the sacrifice. What do you want? Do you have the capacity to do that? My mother her husband, my 3 brothers, and I lived in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. With this limited space and financial resources, she would keep being asked to take in other people's children. And she would say yes every single time. We always had a cousin living with us. But I would listen to her complain about the little help she was getting from these kids' parents. She had no access to her own internal gas tank. She kept stretching her capacity to give. And with each child, she felt resentful and taken advantage of. But she would never communicate her struggle. She kept giving, kept pouring from an empty cup. Do you have the capacity to do that? I intently watched my mother from the ages of 15 to 18, the age I was when she died. I went with her to some of the taverns where she would yell at some lady who was trying to take her man. I was with her at that gas station where she saw him in another woman's car. I watched her cry as he drove off with that woman. And I watched her serve him dinner when he returned after 2 days of no contact with her. And I swore I will never be like her. This will never be my story. I was so wrong, y'all. I wasn't simply like my mother. I was my mother. Her triggers were my triggers. Her fears were my fears. Her traumas were my traumas. I was everything she was in life, in friendships, in family dynamics, and in romantic relationships. I too, just like my mother, overstretched, overcompromised, and shapeshifted. I too became everything to everyone. And I too negotiated for love and bargained for safety. When my partner of 8 years cheated on me with a man, I found myself repeating the same behaviors I loathed in my mother. I chased the man down. I begged her to love me. I even negotiated the terms of our relationship to include an open relationship, knowing full well that an open relationship isn't something I wanted to engage in. But unlike my mother, I asked myself the questions. And it is these questions that helped me choose myself. Who am I? I am a Black, queer, African woman, born of a teenage mother, raised by a poor priest and a prison cook. I am kind, compassionate, big-hearted, strong-willed, and courageous. I am also a recovering people pleaser, raised in a household with abusive adults who lacked healthy ways of expressing uncomfortable emotions. I became a people pleaser in order to feel safe, seen, loved, and validated. People pleasing served as both a protection mechanism as well as a resource for limited love and connection. What do I want? I want true personal freedom, self-determination, agency over my choices, and radical ways of loving myself. I want permission to be selfish. I want to pour into my own cup first and then share with everyone else from the overflow. Self-full. I want to help other women to do the same. And this is why I chose life coaching as a career. Actually, no, as a calling. I saw how generations of women in my family were infected with the disease to please, and I want to help them heal. Do I have the capacity to do that? Saying yes to things I wanted to say no to came at a very high cost for me. It cost me my peace. I lived in a constant state of fear and anxiety. Every yes was a self-abandoning wound whose scars I can still see. Having no access to my own internal gas tank disconnected me from my sense of self. It destroyed my self-confidence, and it shattered my self-worth. Not only that, it cost me the pleasure of authentic connections. What we don't realize as people pleasers is that sometimes the people we are trying to please are unaware that we are suffering in silence. Unless made aware of our battle with people pleasing, to them, a yes is simply a yes. These are two sentences I have been practicing as a recovering people pleaser. I do not have the capacity to do that. And no. Here's what I would say to you and my mother if I was everyone's life coach. You deserve to live. There is nothing selfish about you choosing yourself, your health, and your safety. And I know that the fear of other people's opinions, as well as the fear of being rejected and abandoned is crippling. I also know that if you do choose yourself, you are going to have to start over, and that scares you. But you are not starting from scratch. You are not a blank canvas. You have all this experience. I just wonder if you could love yourself enough to choose yourself, love yourself enough to prioritize yourself, love yourself enough to be selfish, love yourself enough to know that you are worthy of your own love. People-pleasing cost my mother her self-determination. It cost her her dreams, her safety, her well-being, her self-esteem, her life. What is it costing you? Thank you.